This crushed Porsche Cayenne, the deadly end of a trail of violence. The mother behind the wheel, 34-year-old Danielle Johnson, taking her own life by slamming into a tree in Redondo Beach after allegedly killing two others, including her 8-month-old daughter, when she threw the infant and her 9-year-old sister out of the car on the freeway.
This is Love Hurts. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for future content. 29-year-old Jaelen Chaney was vibrant, loving, generous, and silly. Considered a nerd by many, he loved Star Wars. He also loved science, weather, and reading. Jaelen was a proud airman with the US Air Force, and he served his country with pride, honor, courage, and dedication. He loved his job. He just loved traveling and getting stationed to new locations, like in 2020 when he was stationed in Italy for 18 months. Although it was hard to be away from family and loved ones, the opportunity to experience different cultures made the time away from home so worth it.
Go get him.
I thought I heard. Oh my gosh! Look this way, you guys.
Jaelen was the second oldest out of 3 boys, but he played the role of big brother to everyone. He was so responsible and just downright motivated. He knew exactly where he was going in life and exactly how he was going to get there. His infectious smile and laughter touched everyone he came in contact with. From his high school classmates to his fellow airmen in Italy, everybody loved and respected Jaelen. Although Jaelen spent a lot of time traveling, eventually he found love when he met 34-year-old Danielle Johnson. Now, Danielle was a self-proclaimed recording artist and an astrologist who had built up a pretty large following on Twitter by offering readings and astrological advice under the name Danielle Ayoka. She also offered self-help healing sessions and energy cleansings for a fee. People loved her, and many described her as a skilled healer. Her Twitter following grew quickly, and by 2024, she had racked up more than 100,000 followers.
Crazy. So I come from like a line of medicine women, Cherokee medicine women. So like I was born a shaman, and so when I was a kid, I would see like shadows and stuff like that, and it was funny because like my grandparents were Christian, and so they taught me how to say my prayers, but then I remember being like 2 or 3, and I remember when I would say my prayers at night, I would visualize all of my like bad and scary thoughts going out the window so I could have a good night's sleep. I was already doing energy work. Like I didn't even know like that was like, and I already had intuition, like gut feelings and things like that. And I would have like dreams and things like that. So it just was something I've always had, if that makes sense.
From the outside looking in, Jaelen and Danielle's relationship seemed perfect. Jaelen was a wonderful stepfather to Danielle's young daughter from a previous relationship, and he was an attentive, generous man to her. She would often tweet about how much he spoiled her and how he made different holidays special for her. The relationship was going so well that by 2023, the couple welcomed their first child together, a little baby girl named Soleil. This was Jaelen's first child, and he was completely in love with his daughter. As with many relationships, after the birth of the couple's first child, things changed. The relationship became strained. And although it was never publicly confirmed, sources say Danielle was battling a severe case of postpartum depression. And many believe that her readings and practices had suddenly become dark and downright scary. People weren't sure if she was a true healer or if she was practicing witchcraft. By early 2024, everything in Danielle's life seemed to be taking a dark turn, and her relationship with Jaelen was no different. The situation had become extremely toxic, and although police were never called to their home, neighbors say they often heard loud yelling coming from the couple's apartment. In the early morning hours of April 8th of 2024, police were called out to the 405 freeway on reports of an infant child and young girl being thrown out of a vehicle. When police arrived, they located a 9-year-old and an infant who had reportedly been run over by multiple vehicles. Unfortunately, the infant, later identified as 8-month-old Soleil, died at the scene due to major injuries. The 9-year-old, identified as Danielle's oldest child, also suffered major injuries, but she was still clinging to life and was immediately rushed to the hospital. 2 hours after the accident, a neighbor who'd heard Danielle and Jaelen arguing in their apartment the night before called 911 after seeing blood in the hallway and by the couple's door. According to the neighbor, paramedics on the phone advised him to enter the apartment and check and see if anyone was injured. When he did, he found 29-year-old Jaelen stabbed to death in the kitchen. Police later found tarot cards and black feathers strewn about the apartment. Police were able to piece together exactly what happened after speaking with Danielle's 9-year-old daughter, who survived. Based on her account, Danielle stabbed Jaelen in the early morning hours of April 8th while he was on the couch sleeping. She tried to drag his body out of the apartment complex, but ultimately left him in the kitchen. She then drove out of the complex with her 2 children in the car, ramming through the gate. She slowed the car once she reached the 405 freeway, telling her oldest daughter to get out. When the 9-year-old, who was holding her 8-month-old baby sister, Soleil, in her arms, refused, Danielle pushed her out of the moving vehicle and into the middle of traffic. Danielle was then seen driving over 100 miles an hour on the Pacific Coast Highway before police responded to reports of a crashed car. They were able to identify her despite massive injuries, but ultimately she was pronounced dead at the scene.
We're learning disturbing new details about a family tragedy with 3 deadly crime scenes. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter has more on the tragic timeline.
This crushed Porsche Cayenne, the deadly end of a trail of violence. The mother behind the wheel, 34-year-old Danielle Johnson, taking her own life by slamming into a tree in Redondo Beach after allegedly killing 2 others, including her 8-month-old daughter, when she threw the infant and her 9-year-old sister out of the car on the freeway.
The suspect slowed the vehicle and opened the passenger door for her daughter and then told her to get out of the car. And when the daughter didn't do that, she then forcibly pushed her out of the vehicle in the middle of the freeway while moving, while the 9-year-old was holding the 8-month-old baby.
The baby fell to the pavement and was struck and killed by a passing vehicle. The 9-year-old managed to make it to the shoulder with moderate injuries. Eyewitness News has learned the 9-year-old witnessed her mother stab her live-in boyfriend, 29-year-old Jaelen Chaney, to death in their Woodland Hills apartment. Investigators say Johnson killed Chaney early Monday morning after a fight, then rammed the garage gate as she fled with her daughters. Detectives say a short time later, Johnson pushed the little girls out of her car on the 405 and drove away. Her final act, crashing into a tree at more than 100 miles per hour. Detectives still searching for a motive.
Leading up to the tragic events, police say Danielle's Twitter profile showed a series of frenzied posts referring to the solar eclipse as an apocalypse. And a few days before the murders, she retweeted a handful of posts and conspiracy theories about COVID-19. It appeared to many that Danielle was mentally struggling.
New at 10 tonight, we've learned that the suspect in this week's horrific murder-suicide was an online astrology influencer. Here's a look at her, who posted about the solar eclipse being the apocalypse.
A lot of our foundations as a society are toxic. They're ungrounded and they're unrealistic.
LAPD confirms Danielle Johnson, a.k.a. Danielle Ayoka, seen here on the Scotty and Sylvia show, was an astrology influencer on social media who was concerned about the eclipse.
Eclipses, there's more births, there's more deaths.
Leading up to the eclipse on Monday, Danielle, who went by the handle Mystic X Lipstick, made several alarming posts like these. Wake up, the apocalypse is here. And the eclipse is the epitome of spiritual warfare. She also reposted alerts that signaled this is the final warning. Something big is coming.
Wow. My heart truly goes out to Jaelen and Soleil's family, friends, and loved ones. And my heart also goes out to Danielle's 9-year-old daughter, who not only had to witness her mother take a life, but who now also has to live with the fact that her mother attempted to kill her and actually did kill her baby sister. I cannot imagine the amount of therapy that it's going to take for this child to live a somewhat normal life going forward. If you are in a domestic abuse relationship, get out now. Once you are out, do not turn back. Turning back can cost you your life. As always, loves, stay safe. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for future content.